To my do-it-yourself channel, and this is another video on the Honda Odyssey that I have. It's a 2010 Honda Odyssey EX, and it's a 3.5 liter VTech. And there it comes out. So the new one versus old one, you can see it has to be exact match, and doesn't have, here it is Honda by DENSO, whereas this one is also by DENSO. And I will recommend that you use a DENSO one, and if you don't, let me know which one you put in, and put a comment and tell me if the other brands worked, so that other viewers can try that brand. And especially if you want to try the Bosch is a good brand that makes alternators and all the other parts for European cars. And I was inclined to go with Bosch, but then for around $30 more I was able to get the DENSO remanufactured, so I went with this. I'm going to put this in the same way. So removing the washer fluid container might be the easiest to do, but it just went in, and I'm going to turn it around and fit it in. Now this can go back to the space. I will have to align it so that it passes this one here. There you go. Just make sure that the harness that attaches is on the top. I have to turn it here, right there. To put it back in, the issue is the lower bolt, the anchor bolt, needs to go in first. But you will see that the clearance is not much, so you have to push it in and make sure it goes in. And so you keep on wiggling it, and you can see it's moving in. And if you wiggle it sideways, I am able to get that in. I don't know if you can see it from here, right there. So almost there, and I'm going to take the long bolt and squeeze this in, and just make sure that So once you get the bottom one, the top one will be easier. I'm almost there, you can see. The trickiest part of putting this alternator back is aligning this lower bolt, and this is the 14 millimeter long bolt. You will be able to align this by wiggling through as I did, but then it will not align properly to the rear side where it bolts into the engine block, and that alignment is not going to be straightforward. What happens is if you assume that the block is going to be aligned, if you align this hole in the front, it's not going to be that easy. You have to make sure that the alternator is not sitting on the floor of the channel where you put in. So pull the back side of the alternator while with your other hand try to screw it in. Hope it works. In my case, I needed a few tries, and you need some patience. So often I took some break and came back with more patience. Otherwise, it's not going to be that straightforward. I didn't tighten the lower bolt yet all the way because I need a little play to make this alternator go and lock in. So I put the bracket in here on the alternator. Now I have aligned all the bolts, and you can see I have the top bolts, the two bolts still loose, and the bottom bolt as well, it is also loose. And I have a torque wrench. The top bolt will take 16 foot-pounds, and the bottom will take 33 foot-pounds or close by. So I'm going to tighten each of them and go with that. It's a little tricky here, but it's almost close to being finished. So have a little patience and tighten them properly. So I've tightened the top two bolts, and then I'm going to use the 14 millimeter for tightening the lower one, and I have set it to 33 foot-pound, and this is going to be a little challenge, but it should be torqued, and I'll tighten that. So I've tightened the bolts here, and now I'm going to put the harness back and route it. So just remember that the lock goes towards the top. So it should click, and that should be, you should just check it so that it is tight. Put the cover back on, and this one is the positive terminal bolt. Make sure that the bolt doesn't fall off, and in my case it did fall off, and then I had to go searching for it in the engine compartment. So I will be careful this time when I put it back in. And then the back side of the alternator is the harness that I will try to put it on. It is going to be secure that way. You can see the purple plug there, and that should just hook in. Put the cover back on. Next, I'm going to check the serpentine belt. It's probably ready for replacement. I don't have a replacement yet, so I'm going to put this back on So far no cracks as such, and I'll just keep an eye and keep a spare because it's getting to 100,000 miles. The way to put it is, I will put a diagram. You probably need a diagram to see how it goes. And I will start with the crankshaft, which is the lowest point, and then the AC condenser, which is the bottom one, and then work it way up. So I have looped the belt around the lower pulleys. You can see it follows, and then I am going to leave the last pulley, which is above, and this is the steering pump pulley, and I'm going to put some tension on this one, and I'm going to move it forward and loop this pulley. That will be the easiest, is to loop the ones on the top. You can try looping the alternator one, but I would try the ones that is more accessible. So I ended up looping the big pulley on the power steering first, and then left the tensioner one out. And as you push the tension on the pulley, you can use the other hand to put it in. So, and it looks good. I just want to make sure the grooves are in the each pulley. So I put the bracket for the steering fluid container in here, the one for the screw that holds the bolt that holds the windshield wiper. There was one in the bottom that was for the electronic relay over there, or similar. I did close this one as well. Make sure the line for the AC is all the way secure in those channels. Just making sure all the bolts that I had taken off are in there, and there was one bolt that I took off here. All the connections are good. The belt tension looks good. One important thing is, you want to charge your battery and make sure that it has a full charge, which will be something like 12.5, 12.6 and above. And mine was almost, it's a good battery, so I tested the battery and I had charged it. So you don't want to make the alternator, a new alternator, charge your dead battery, and that will ruin your alternator too. And also I connected the negative terminal back, and I'm going to give it a start and measure the voltage. So here it started up and looks good, no noise, and also the voltage is showing 14.2. I'm going to try my multimeter, and I'm going to see how the voltage is. And you can see 14.36. So that's a good voltage. I'm going to just give a test run and let it run for a little bit. Just make sure that the serpentine belt is all seated and it looks good. I did test drive it. No battery light, and it started fine, and it drove fine. I drove for a little bit, and of course when you take the battery terminals out, you will have to enter the code. And what you do is, in your glove compartment, you will have the two codes right there, and enter the top code, and that should reset it. And this power steering fluid, though it leaked a little bit. I already had a little over the high mark, so I do not need to refill it. The rest of it looks good. So hope this helps, and if you have any questions, you can comment on this video and also subscribe to my channel. I have other videos on this car and other cars, as well as some home projects that I do, and I share with everyone the knowledge of doing it yourself. And also don't forget to like the video.